The Iguvine Tablets are a series of 7 bronze tablets discovered at Gubbio, Italy, in the year 1444, currently housed in the Civic Museum of the Palazzo dei Consola in Gubbio. They are also known as the Iguvine Tablets or Iguvine Tables. The earliest tablets were probably written in the 3rd century BC in the native Umbrian alphabet, the latest in the 1st century BC in the Latin alphabet. The tablets contain religious inscriptions that memorialize the acts and rites of the Ascidian Brethren, a group of 12 priests of Jupiter with important municipal functions at Iguvium. They are written in the Umbrian language, and are by far the longest and most important document of any of the Osco-Umbrian group of languages, closely related to Latin. They shed light on the grammar of this ancient dead language, and also on the religious practices of the ancient peoples of Italy, including the archaic religion of the Romans. Parts of tablets V and 7 appear to be written in an accentual meter, similar to the Saturnian meter that is encountered in the earliest Latin poetry. The complete text, together with a translation into Latin, was published in London in 1863 by Francis Newman and 1931 in a book by Albrecht von Blumenthal. They were translated into English and published by James W. Poultney in 1959. These are the only documents of the ancient religions of Europe and the Mediterranean which have come down to us in an almost complete state. Moreover, the content deals with the rituals addressed to the highest gods of the local community and to some extent may reflect the common religious beliefs and practices of the Italic peoples. Consequently, a great number of scholars have devoted their efforts to reading and deciphering them since their discovery. As historical linguist Giacomo Devoto once described it, it is necessary to go deep into Asia to find anything of equal value. The religious structure present in the tablets resembles that of the early stage of Roman religion, reflecting the Roman archaic triad and the group of gods more strictly related to Jupiter. Although the general meaning of the tablets is clear, there are still many obscure and debated points and issues. The main difficulty in understanding the text is the insufficient knowledge of the Umbrian vocabulary. Discovery. A farmer found the tablets in a field in 1441 and sold them to the city for 2 years' worth of farming rights. The content of the tablets concerns the religions and ceremonies that were celebrated at Iguvium, the town's religious organization and its boundaries. Epigraphic note. The tablets are engraved on bronze. Analysis of the external appearance of the supporting material has led scholars to conclude that only tablets V and 7 were meant to be exposed in public. The other ones were cast as an archive document. They are inscribed in Italic alphabet derived from Etruscan and in Latin alphabet. Date. The study of the ductus, conducted by comparing the tablets with other inscriptions from the area of central Italy, has allowed scholars to conclude for a dating from no later than the end of the 3rd century for T. 3 and IV to the first half of the 1st century for the latest T. Vi and 7. Content. Tablets I to V present their topic in a concise, matter-of-fact manner. Tablets V and 7 repeat the same subject of tablet I in a much more detailed and diluted way, with apparent literary and encomiastic intentions and overtones. The content of the tablets is given below, in their relative order of antiquity as established by Newman on the authority of Albrecht and Kirchhoff, which is identical to that recently indicated by A. Maggiani. Tablets 3 and IV sacrificed to Pumonas Poprikos and Vasuna. General prescriptions concerning the holding of the sacrifice of the ovis to Pumonas and Vasuna near a sacred grove, containing details on the choice of the ochre of the ceremony, the dispositions of the ritual instruments, the ritual invocations for the safety of the city to Iove Patra and Pumonas, the distribution of the sacrificial meat and the libations. Tablet 2 Side A. Sacrifice of an ox to Iove Patra, of a ram to Iovio, of a lamb to Iovio and of a Bortomat. The Hondia. Making of the arficer. Preparations. readying of the victim, grains, strews, furtum, incense or meal, wine, salt, mola, mandraculum, vases, pure water, ignition of the fire at the Ara, Petronian feast to Hontus Iovios, sacrifice to Hontus Iovios of puppies, offers of wine, libation, partition of the meats and their exposition on a board, holding and turning of the Ara with the hands and offer of wine, division of the wine, the strews and furtum, the meats among the participants, burning of the puppies at the Ara. Side B. Sacrifice and feast of the Attidian Brotherhood, sacrifice of a pig and a ram to Iove at the time of the decury of month Simonius by the 10 sets of families of each of the 12 regions. Sacred epulum in honor of Iove Patra, started in town and profanated at the various fana with libations using the mandraculum. Votion feast to Iupater, sacrifice of a calf to Iove Patra for the Votion gens of the Attidians. The sacrifice is conducted with the feta in one hand at the offering and the krenketro, or toga war slanted across the right shoulder, in the right hand at the time of the slaughtering. Tablet I side 6 triplets sacrifices to the Grabovian triad and the minor triad. After observing the birds on the before and the behind 3 oxen a sacrifice to Iove Grabovius before the Trebulana gate. Behind it 3 sows are sacrificed to Trebus Iovio. Before the Thessalonica gate 3 oxen are sacrificed to Mart Grabovi. Behind it 3 pigs are sacrificed to Phissus Sancius. A libation ensues. Before the Viaria gate 3 white-fronted oxen are sacrificed to Vophana Grabovi. Behind the gate 3 ewe lambs are sacrificed to Tephra Iovi. After the profanation of the lambs, the rump is offered in expiation and a libation for the tota, local community, ensues. On the 2 sides separately starting with the right side. After the profanation of the rumps is over the backs shall be profanated. Side B. 2 more triplet sacrifices to Martidi and Hondos Surfios in atonement for the citadel. At the Jovian Grove after the shearing of sheep 3 male calves shall be sacrificed to Martidi for the Iguvine people and Tota. At the Cortes Grove 3 male calves shall be sacrificed to Hontus Surfios. Henceforth the citadel will be expiated. If anything vicious happened in the discharge of the rite, the birds shall be observed. The rite shall be reinstated once again after returning to the Trebulana gate. Review of the city militia and expulsion of the traditional enemies of Iguvium by the Arphidra and the 2 Prinovatis, Tadanates, Tusha, Nahasa, Iapuzkoi. 4 more triplet sacrifices. Near the small fontaines 3 red boars shall be sacrificed to Surphos Martios. On the Rubenian age 3 she-boars shall be sacrificed to Priestatus Surfir of Surphos Martios. The sacred jugs, black and white, shall there be ordered and turned. Beyond the Sahata 3 she-calves shall be sacrificed to Tursa Surfir of Surfios Martios. The assignation of the place where to carry out the slaughter of the boars shall be decided according to the site upon which the officiant is watching, whether either behind on the Rubena or beyond on the Sahata. 3 days later the people shall be assembled and 3 heifers sacrificed below the forum of Siamania to Tursa Iovia at Azidonia. 1 of the heifers shall be consecrated by the Arphitra and 2 by the Prinovatis. Tablet V. Side are duties of the Arphitra. The Arphitra must provide whatever is essential for the ceremony and select the victims. Fees to be levied for the performance of the rites. Whenever the banquet of the Brotherhood takes place, the Fratrex or the Svesta must put to votes whether the banquet was properly arranged. If the majority of those present think it was not, a further vote must be taken to fix the penalty for the Arphitra. Side B. Contributions to be made by 2 gents to the brethren and portions of flesh to be awarded them by the brethren on the decurial festival. Tablet Vi and 7. These 2 tablets repeat the content of Tablet I while expanding it to include and expound the minutest details of the rituals. Vi side illustration of the ark's introductory auspices. As in I, the sacrifice is to be preceded by the taking of the auspices. formulae passed between the augur and the artificer, warning against noises, interruptions, meddling, boundaries of the augural templum, formulae of announcement of the auspices, prescriptions applying to the ensuing sacrifice concerning the military rod, the disposition of the pots and the fire. 1. Sacrifice of 3 oxen to Iove Grabovios before the Tribulin gate. An opening prayer is followed by 3 long prayers in identical words for each of the 3 offerings to the 3 Grabovian gods, and these by a general prayer in conclusion. Then follow prayers especially devoted to the rites connected with the sacrifice. 2. Sacrifice of 3 pregnant sows to Trebosh Iovios behind the Tribulin gate. The prayers used in the first sacrifice are to be repeated. Side B3. Sacrifice of 3 oxen to Mart Grabovios before the Thessalonica gate. The prayers of the first sacrifice are to be repeated. 4. Sacrifice of 3 suckling pigs to Phissus Sancius behind the Thessalonica gate. The prayers of the first sacrifice are to be repeated. Then an offering of cakes accompanied by specific prayers and ceremonies ensues. Special attention is given to Phissus Sancius, patron of the citadel. 5. Sacrifice of 3 oxen with a white forehead to Vophionos Grabovios before the Virgate. The prayers of the first sacrifice are to be repeated. 6. Sacrifice of 3 she-lambs to Tethoriovios behind the Virgate. The prayers of the first sacrifice are to be repeated. Then supplementary offerings follow, thereafter, prayers and accompanying rites with vases on both sides of a trench. 7. Sacrifice of 3 bull calves to marked horse at the Iovian grove. The prayers of the first sacrifice are to be repeated. 8. Sacrifice of 3 bull calves to Hondos Serphios at the Cordian grove. The prayers of the first sacrifice are to be repeated. Rites for the lustration of the poplo and execration of the enemies. The auspices are to be taken in the same way as for the lustration of the arcs. Holding the Pakaras Mesha and the Kringatro, the Uzfeta lights the fire, then with the 2 assistants, who hold rods of pomegranate wood, marches with the victims along the augural way to the district of Macedonia. Proclamation is made expelling the alien enemies. The Iguvines are ordered to form in companies. The Uzfeta and the assistants march about them thrice with the victims and the fire. At the end a prayer is made invoking misfortune upon the aliens and blessings upon the Iguvinians. 7. Cider sacrifice of 3 boars to Serphios Martios at the Fontuli, accompanied by the prayers used at the Tribulin gate. Sacrifice of 3 sows to Praesti to Surfir at Rubinia, with the prayers used at the Tribulin gate. Ceremonies with the black vessels and the white vessels, the former meant to bring misfortune to the aliens, the latter to avert it from the Iguvinians. Offering to Physavius Sancius with the prayer SW used behind the Thessalonica gate. Sacrifice of 3 female calves beyond the Sahata to Tursa Surfir of the Surphios of Mart. The prayers used at the Tribulin gate are to be repeated. The profanation of the offerings must take place where the Nuntiatia happened, either in Rubinia or beyond the Sahata. After 3 days the holder of the Pakaras Mesha and the 2 assistants pray silently for the execration of the enemies and the safety of Iguvium, from the shrine of Tursa. Then heifers are set free below the forum of Siamenia. The first person who has caught any of the first 3 shall sacrifice them to Tursa Iovia at Asaronia for Iguvium. The prayers and rituals used at the Tribulin gate are to be repeated. Side B. Obligations of the Fratrexan entity of the fine he must pay in case of omissions.